As Yeju is worriedly sitting beside a large crystal, he sees a horde of Popoi hop in and start wildly taking huge bites of it. He wonders if he's supposed to follow suit and hesitates a moment before shoving huge chunks of the rock inside his mouth, and vows to climb and destroy this tower. 2 years earlier, the manager of the orphanage praises him for being so independent and says that he'll excel in whatever he does, since he hasn't ever gotten his hands dirtied before, sighing about how easier it would be if the others were like that. Confused, he asks what's happened, so she answers that the director is not feeling well, since their orphanage is a privately funded organization. If he decides to retire, they won't be able to keep it going for any longer than 3 years. Later, Yeju dejectedly falls on his bed and thinks about how even though he's been excelling in life, there's no way that he'll be able to produce an amount big enough to sustain the orphanage. He starts looking up ways to get rich quickly, but only comes across listings about the awakened. He watches an interview where the guest awakened is saying that the biggest change in his life after coming back from the tower was that he got ultra rich, and Yeju starts thinking of how the tower appeared out of nowhere 7 years ago. It selected people at random and sucked them inside, and not many came back out, and the ones who did refused to say a single word but used their magic powers for the betterment of society as a whole, which is why earn a lot of money as power generators. He suddenly starts receiving weird notifications and accidentally clicks on one of them, which show him a video of himself raiding the tower in the future. Since the future will open 2 years later, he starts exercising to increase his body strength and studying up on the tower to learn as much as he can. One day, he starts praying to the gods to make the tower open today, saying that he quit his job last month to not accidentally miss the portal, and says that he urgently needs money. He looks at the videos and starts wondering if they were just a misunderstanding, but erases the thought from his mind a second later, dreading what would happen to the orphanage if they weren't real, and realizes that he's just getting nervous since he doesn't know the exact time. Thinking of getting some more exercise, but suddenly feels wind behind him and sees that the portal's finally opened at long last. A voice tells him to come, so he inwardly answers that he was going to go in anyway even if it didn't ask, and steps in, saying that he finally gets to enter the tower, and tells the director to wait for him before choosing the high difficulty level. He wakes up in a cave and for a second starts wondering where he is in panic, but remembers that it's the cave from the video before a screen appears in front of him, before realizing that he doesn't have his phone on him, but doesn't fret since he's been watching the videos for over 2 years now. He remembers how all participants are given an hour in the first floor during which they must communicate with the viewers and try to receive coins from them. The viewers are the other awakened that remain in the tower from a list of different streams. They participate in the live streams of players on the lower floors and sponsor them, the reason for which is not the goodness of their heart but coins. Whenever the streamer sponsored by the viewer advances to the next floor, the sponsors are given coins, or it could also mean that the viewers are extremely bored in some cases. A sponsor named Love enters Yeju's stream and gives him a coin, for which he earnestly thanks them and confirms that he's supposed to use them in the shop. Seeing his quick-wittedness, Love gives him another 3 coins and follows him after hearing his decision of not spending the coins this early before leaving for a while. Elated, he describes that following a person is much like adding them to your favorites list, and that you can't follow someone unless you unfollow the person you're already following. Once a fair amount of people have gathered, he acknowledges that the strategy of choosing the high level of difficulty was a good choice, and gets ready to face his first trial and tries to act dumb, after which the viewers tell him that there's an admin who'll kill them if they leak out information, and is the reason why the awakened can't describe their time spent in the tower. As his first trial begins, 3 small portals appear in front of him from which 3 Popwa hop out. As the viewers chat in disbelief, he explains that Popwa are cute-looking devils that have teeth which can cut through any material, and are adept at killing people. Many of the viewers, including Love, leave, thinking that he's now done for, but he doesn't panic and starts tracing the movements of the Popwa, who are known for not attacking until provoked. Meanwhile, Love tries to follow someone else but is unable to, so he returns to Yeju's stream and shockingly discovers that he's still alive. As the Popoi acknowledge him and invite him to eat with them before starting to hungrily chomp on a mana stone in front of them, after which Yeju also starts swallowing large pieces of it and remarks that it's delicious. Once he's done, his body starts glowing and the Popwa happily climb on his shoulder, acknowledging him as their friend, before a screen instantly pops up saying that he's successfully cleared the first trial before he collapses from exhaustion. Yeju wakes up with a start and, seeing the Popoi's expression, asks if they were worried about him, which they happily agree to, so he pats them on their head and notices the various comments of the viewers. He sees that he can't keep up with them and is stunned to see that his current viewer count has increased to 127. He says that he was really lucky and acknowledges that he wouldn't have been able to do this without them. As the viewers ask how he knew that the Popoys wouldn't react to him, he wonders whether they'll believe him if he said that he knew a lot about them and tells them that he wanted to get along with them since he was aware that he'd easily die if he got on their bad side, and since the trial instructed him to eliminate the enemies, not kill them, he turned them into his allies. He explains that because he wanted to get along with the Popoy, he wanted to understand them and followed whatever they did. He decides that even though the viewers will find it hard to believe, they'll probably just let it slide and will purposefully forget to get his reward since he's an ignorant newbie. He announces that he's going to advance to the second floor before, as expected, the viewers quickly remind him to get his reward. They tell him to open his settings window and a wrapped gift box drops out when he does, which the viewers find amusing, calling the admin a Tsunger. When he opens it, he finds a rock, a token, and a coin pouch. He realizes that the rock is a mana stone and that the token enables him to change his nickname, so he stashes it for later. He decides to head to the second floor, but the Popoys scurry away towards another wall, so he follows them in confusion as they start chomping it up. He follows them through a scuffed tunnel and realizes that his right hand has started to glow, for which the viewers start making fun of him, but he knows that it means that the glow is similar to that of a knight covering their body with an aura to strengthen them. He enters a small clearing where the Papua show him a necklace, which he surprisingly finds is the rare item talisman necklace, which grants him good luck just by being wearing it, and will break after saving the player from death once, as he remembers that it saved his life when he was stuck in a near-death situation at the 15th floor. The viewers become instantly enraged and ask how it's objectively fair, but Love thankfully comes to his rescue by donating 10 coins and instructing him to wear it, so he puts it around his neck and gets ready to enter the portal with the Papua, and finds himself inside a large stadium. He decides to take a look around first and sees something written in a different language, which after being translated by a pop-up screen reads, "Remember the blood spilled by those who are called heroes," reading which Iju remarks that it sounds really creepy, almost like they're trying to scare him, but the chat tells him to look at the other one, which says there is both nobility and dishonor with regards to effort, so don't think that all effort is the same. Iju remarks that he agrees to this somewhat, but firmly says that no matter how small, effort will still bear fruit and it's better to just give it a try. The screen for the second trial appears in front of him, saying that it will begin in 10 minutes and his objective is to survive for 30 minutes against the monsters. Worried since he doesn't have any time to waste, he quickly opens the shop. He wonders which monsters it'll be and narrows it down to either red bears or the sea serpents, remembering how red bears are gigantic in size and can breathe fire. He decides to wear some strong armor against them and tough it out till the 30 minutes are up. The sea serpents, on the other hand, are strong but can't do much outside the water, so he just needs to avoid its tail, which it can use to strangle him. He decides that the tower won't throw an unbeatable monster in the second trial and confidently gets ready as the portal starts opening. He wonders if it's a sea serpent since it's too small for a red bear, but it slowly gets bigger and bigger until it's too large even for red bears before a large green foot steps outside, and the highest level monster, the turtle dragon, menacingly appears before Iju as he watches with dread. He quickly goes to the shop and buys a Radaz's one-handed axe while the viewers hurriedly tell him to start running. He rushes at the dragon, which slams its foot down, but he manages to stab it, after which it fires a huge blast at him in anger, but he keeps dodging and stealthily attacking it before he says that he could have just blocked the red bears, but is memorizing the dragon's attack patterns and swiftly rushing toward its hind legs. Seeing that it's injured, the dragon hides in its shell to heal itself, so he quickly gets on its shell, knowing that it can explode its spikes, and starts attacking its weakened spike, after which the dragon gets out of its shell and starts running toward the wall, as Iju wonders if it's planning to throw him off by the collision and says he only has this chance before slamming the spike into its shell with a powerful blow from his axe, after which erupts and causes a massive explosion on it, as the viewers wonder whether or not it's dead. As the smoke clears, the viewers wonder what happened and ask if Iju actually managed to do it, as he slowly walks towards it. Seeing that its eyes are closed, he notes that it was a risky gamble but ended up working, remembering that a dragon's spike explodes if you infuse mana into it, and how he had used the mana he'd acquired from the stone to power it up before slamming it inside the shell, and admits that he almost got caught up in the explosion as well. The dragon slowly opens its eyes and Iju clutches his axe tighter, getting ready to finish it off, and successfully kills it, after which he receives a hidden reward he had expected for not only completing the trial but also defeating the monster, as the Papua happily indicate that they want to eat it, which he deduces is probably because of the large amount of mana it contains, and agrees. As the chat starts debating if he's a hacker since he's a complete newbie who just killed the turtle dragon, he says that there's no way they'll believe him if he said that he just got lucky, and decides to go with the shameless approach, saying that he just thought he'd be able to do it and went ahead. He reminds himself that they aren't watching because he sucks up to them, but because of the various situations he gets stuck in and the ways with which he tackles them, saying that his viewer count, which is now 198, proves that. He goes to check the rewards and sees that he's received 100 followers, so he checks out the floor rewards next and finds the customary 500 coins pouch and a mana stone along with a subspace backpack that can hold up to 500 kilograms of weight. He decides to not let the viewers know about the mana stones since they become useful only after the 10th floor anyway, and sees that his hidden reward is the heroic rank upgrade rune, which lets him upgrade the level of an item, which he decides to bag for now before suddenly feeling a wave of dizziness as the chat tells him to quickly check the rewards and head to the next floor to heal his wounds since he's lost too much blood. So he quickly opens the next reward and sees that it's the option to choose anyone blessing in the light of getting to the 100 followers milestone. He explains that blessings are a form of passive strength that greatly increase the player's stats depending on which one he chooses, and chooses the blessing of mana, which is considered useless in the initial rounds, ignoring the chat telling him to go for literally anything else. He enters the third trial and sees the screen explaining that the guardians of the room will be testing him on the pop-up screen for the trial before another human walks in through the portal, and he wonders if the level of difficulty is the same as the other 2 floors since he has to work with someone else this time. The man holds out his hand and greets Yiju, who takes a look at his beaten-up armor, thinking that it looks like he had a hard time on the first 2 floors before holding out his hand as well before the man timidly asks if he's a streamer, to which Yiju embarrassingly agrees, asking if he had a hard time. Hearing this, the man starts crying and says it's his first experience, while the chat discusses that he has a real newbie's reaction and amusingly wonder if Yiju is a robot. The man introduces himself as Ha Yeonseok, and Yiju gives his name as well, hearing which Yeonseok says that he has a unique name before confirming that the things on his head and shoulder are Papwa. Yiju answers that they are, holding one of them out for Yeonseok to see, and asks if the viewers told him, which he confirms, saying that they're going crazy over why they're here, to which he replies that it ended up like that on the first floor, as the chat laughingly say that it's the dark chapter of his journey, as one says he wouldn't be able to hold up his head after acting like that on his first floor with the Papwa, but Yiju says they should stop talking now as 2 huge statues abruptly stand up and stand before them. He thinks that if the difficulty level is the same as the last 2 floors, the Guardian's weakness should also be similar, saying that the Guardian's statues guard the 3rd floor and that many people believe that this is the floor where the real trials of the tower actually begin. Yiju explains that low difficulty equates to 1 statue, medium means 2, and the same goes for high level difficulty, but if you don't take both down at the same time, the fallen one will start to revive. The chat starts discussing the Guardian's weapons as the one with the spear's eyes turn red. It attacks them and Yeonseok gets blown away and hurriedly asks about Yiju, who's running flat out towards the Guardians as the shield holding one slams it down on him, but Yiju dodges and cuts off the spear's leg with his axe as it starts to fall. The shield quickly grabs hold of him, but Yiju doesn't stop, saying he can't let it revive, and rushes at the shield's other leg before powerfully cutting it down as well, making both the Guardians fall to the floor. Yeonseok slowly walks towards him and asks who he is, as the chat says it's supposed to be a 2-person trial and discuss that the scene's over now, but Yiju suddenly becomes alarmed and shouts out to Yeonseok to duck as the Guardian's eyes glow red again and it rushes towards him. As the spear flies at Yeonseok at top speed, Yiju quickly comes to the rescue and saves him from it as the chat tell him to kill them nicely before both the Guardians stand up. Yiju worries about how it directly threw its spear and acknowledges that just knocking them down won't be enough and gets ready to finish them, getting up and settling into a pose while the chat cheer him on for suddenly becoming so cool. He rushes toward the Guardian and jumps on its shield before looking it dead in the eye and rushing towards its face. He takes a long jump in the end and swiftly cuts its body from the upper right side down, landing on the broken mass, but not taking any time to rest. He quickly dodges an oncoming attack from the standing spear and slides towards its outstretched hands, wondering what he should since there's no space to dodge, but puts the thought away since he doesn't have enough time to properly plan his next move and gets ready to end it quickly before the fallen statue starts reviving again. He jumps toward the spear and lands a heavy blow on its arm, cracking most of it and completely cutting off its hand as it starts to tumble over. He lands in front of its face in triumph as a screen pops up saying that he's successfully cleared the trial before his viewers start to generously pour in money for him. He walks away and remarks that he has to break the red eye, which is the Guardian's weakness if he wants to go with the original plan, but he can also just destroy the entire statues for good measure as well, and says they managed to clear it safely, asking the viewers if it took too long, but they seem to be all praise for him, and one of them says that his ramen didn't even finish cooking while he was fighting the Guardians. But Iju puts on a show of being confused after doing so well in the trial and looks around, saying that the portal isn't appearing, so the viewers tell him to go in front, as some say that only looks like a newbie at times like this. Yeonseok tells him to wait, and when he asks what it is, he asks if they can talk for a bit, but Iju, inwardly remarking that he wants to go up as soon as possible since wasted so much time on the 3rd floor, says they'll talk another time and runs away, calling over his back that there'll be a chance later. He walks inside and opens a scroll saying that the crazy emperor beheaded a general just for fighting on, and warning him to never disobey the emperor. He checks his reward and sees that he received 5,000 coins this time and gets ready to advance with his 211 viewers, but suddenly notices the Papua Weekly lying on top of each other. He wonders if they're sick and asks the viewers if they know what's happening to them, but they seem clueless, saying that he's probably the first person to carry Papua around, as one of them suggests that maybe they're hungry. Iju wonders how that's possible since they just ate the entire dragon's shell, but still tries to feed them a mana stone, yet they don't eat it, so the Og follow. Love recommends him to go the 5th floor first, as the viewers start discussing about that and say that it could be a real possibility. So he suddenly remembers that there's someone he can get to examine the Papua on the 5th floor and carries them in his arms, saying that he'll advance to the 4th floor for now, but stops as Yeonseok hurriedly runs toward him, telling him to wait up. Iju says that he's in a bit of an emergency right now, to which Yeonseok admits that he's a hassle to talk to, but explains that he still wanted to officially thank him for helping him get through the trial completely unhurt. Surprised, Iju slowly accepts it and says they should both survive and meet again someday if they get the chance to, and enters the portal. On the other side, a screen pops up saying that the 4th trial will now commence, and detailing that this is a temple sealed by a rune, and that he needs to break open the seal to open the door, and that his time limit is of about 6 hours, with caution underneath stating that he'll be stuck on the 4th floor if he fails to break the seal, reading which Iju remarks that even though it says trapped, it really means that he'll die, explaining that even though he's able to acquire food with coins, being trapped essentially equals to death. He walks up and says there should be 100 crystals for the hard difficulty before checking the shop inventory, which he explains is filled with food in the 4th floor to bait people into wasting time and getting trapped forever, but he doesn't choose anything and walks up to the seal where he has to use the symbols in the crystal to devise a pattern and find the right colors, and they change color when he touches them. He starts pressing the crystals, explaining that he's already memorized them from the videos by creating a method to replace the symbols with the numbers, and starts quickly pressing the crystals, saying that it might be difficult for a normal streamer, but is child's play for him. The viewers quickly tell him to not just press them randomly but shut up when he successfully completes the 1st row, and is quickly done, after which the portal opens up. He takes his reward of 5,000 coins and enters the 5th floor, where the screen explains that he won't be able to change streams now, and that he'll now become a character of the Fallen World Astro. There are 2 ways of completing this trial: either get to the designated place or kill the other user who will possess another character. Iju wakes up on February 20th in the Imperial Power year of 944, where he's now 10 years old. He asks his father for a magical beast as a present but got slapped instead, and wonders what went wrong. On February 22nd, he made a secret space under his room without father knowing, and offered a gold coin to Fordrick, who helped him but refused to take it and will supply him with magical beasts from now, and thinks he'll be sleeping well tonight, before saying that he realized that he's possessed the 2nd prince of the Asteroid Empire, Kaali Dutoprox. The magical beasts the prince was raising were discovered by the emperor, who forced him to burn them with his own hands, and after going on a drunken rampage, he earned the title of the Wretched Prince. He looks at the screen telling him to reach the designated ending by becoming the emperor. However, taking the throne by force will not be accepted, and he has over 6 days to achieve this, and asks if that isn't asking for too much, as the viewers laugh at his situation. Remembers the place he was in before Asteroid, and explains that one is disconnected from the time in the real world when they enter the 5th floor, which is why getting to the 6th one takes less than a minute in real time, but not for the viewers who have to watch him for a whole week. He'd decided to choose the magic engineering power, but the system had read it as the magical beast 1 and assigned him this character. After reading the diary, he calls for Fordrick, who presents him with the papua, describing them as creatures he brought from the north that according to him are tired out from eating too many stones, before noticing something and hurriedly asking Iju why his body is radiating mana, since that much can make a person explode. So Iju makes a show of taking him serious, inwardly explaining that the mana from the stone penetrated his head and helps him see things in a rational manner even when he's scared or worried. A good example of which happened in front of the turtle dragon, against whom he'd ordinarily be scared, and tells Fordrick that he'll be more aware from now, hearing which he leaves in relief. He leaves the tearful papua in the basement with the other happy-looking beasts, and thinks that his competitor would have probably chosen either knight or wizard, and says that a chief wizard would have a private research lab while a knight would have dedicated training grounds, before deciding that he has to limit the actions of the other streamer as much as possible if thinking about the rewards. As the other streamer Seani slashes through a wooden dummy, he says that even though he's only used some skill books, it feels like he's already been training for over several decades, giddily acknowledging that his skill level is rising just by moving around, as it's explained that he'd thought he was lucky, since he'd chosen the high difficulty level from the get-go. He was able to round up tons of coin donations and easily took down the monsters on the second floor using his kendo skills, after which he utilized the other user as a shield on the third floor to quickly pass through, and had initially thought that he'd lose viewers for being the cause of another person's death, but ended up getting even more donations for his shameless brutality, but barely cleared the fourth floor with only 30 minutes to spare, and now comes across the Prince Kaali, who he quickly bows to in respect, irately wondering what he's doing here and if he's taking up the right posture he'd read about. Kaali instructs him to rise and appreciates that he's doing good for the Empire, but he insists that he's merely doing his part and wonders if he's a streamer as well, but pushes the thought away since they'd have probably chosen the knight or wizard class like him. Kaali asks about the wine he cried over during last year's banquet and asks its name so that he can send it over to him, which makes Seani quickly become flustered and uses the chat's help to guess the name, which Kaali thankfully accepts before taking a pause and asking him what his Korean name is. As he realizes that Kaali's the other streamer, the two start exchanging sharp words and Seani gets ready to put an end to him, taking his sword out, but stops when Fordrick angrily enters the ground, asking what he's doing, but Kaali stops him, saying he just wanted to see some swordsmanship, so Fordrick menacingly tells Seani to beware next time. As Fordrick and Kaali are walking back, he remarks that the commander of the Black Knights being so sloppy is downright atrocious, to which Kaali remarks if he's missing the old days when he was the commander, but is answered that he's forgotten everything after pledging allegiance to the Empress. Kaali dismisses him and says he's wasted too much time and needs to visit the magic workshop soon, before telling the viewers that he's going to aim for the designated route, ignoring their recommendations of just getting him beheaded. Meanwhile, Seani takes the documents on Fordrick from the administration office and remarks that he finally has the documents the viewers told him to get after running away from Fordrick. As he finds out Iju's actual identity through a viewer tells him to go to the outskirts of the gate and head for the chapel, which he approaches at night and victoriously remarks that Iju is dead now.